Alright guys, so I'm taking a screenshot off of the Tormach lathe. I don't have a good way to capture the screen from the Tormach, and holding a camera up to it's just not very good. So what I'm going to try to do is just use screenshots and do a walkthrough of my current version of PathPilot 2.15. I don't have, this is for the Slant Lathe Pro. I don't have the mill, so I don't know any differences between the two versions of the software. I'm just going to be talking about the lathe version here. Okay, if you look at top, there's a G-code tab and a view options tab. We're going to look at the G-code tab first. This box here where you see cham.nc, that's just the name of the file. If you click on this up-down arrow, it will pull up the recent files where you can choose your most recent files. The box here is your actual G-code. This MDI line here is where you would type in any G-code commands. Like one I use a lot is G0Z0, which will bring my Z to the, at rapid to the Z0 position. Okay, over here on the right hand side, you can see that it has a representation of the part being cut, or the part, the actual toolpath movements. You can see this blue, light blue one here is what's been clicked on. If you click on one of these lines, it will actually take you to the line and code in the G code, and you can start. You can start from there, or you can do whatever you want from there, which is really handy. I think that's a really cool feature. You can click on any one of these lines, and it'll take you directly to the part of code where that line is, if there's a problem, or if you just want to start it from there. Okay, on the right hand side is the timer, the new timer that they have, which is I really like. You have to run it through the cycle once for it to get the time. At least that's what I've noticed. Once you've run it once, it'll have the the countdown and the amount of time it takes. All right. Moving here are a few tabs. This is the main tab. This is the tab we're on. The file tab, where we're gonna. I'm going to split this up into multiple videos, but these tabs we'll get into later. But the file tab is where you can copy things to the USB. You can rename files. In my review of the Tormach, I mentioned that how crappy the software was. It's actually a little better now. So I'm going to do quite a bit on that, I think, later to cover some of the things that they fixed. Settings are just settings that you can change, like whether you want to move back just on the Z-axis or the Z and the X-axis when doing a G30 move, which is a tool change move. Whether you're using a chuck, whether you're using collets, different things like that, which belt pulley you're using is all set up under the settings. Sorry, we'll get to that later. The offsets tab is where you set your tools, your tool links, tool table information, stuff like that. We'll get to that. Conversational is really the best part of this software, I think. It has, where you basically program the machine on the machine, different cuts you want to make. For instance, this code here was all generated on via the PathPilot's conversational. Alright, and status just gives you status information. We'll get to that later. These weird little lines, I don't know what that's all about. It happens quite a bit, even on the previous version. It's just little graphic problems. I don't know. So, alright, so cycle start, simple enough. You click on that, these little green bubble lights up. It'll start through the code here, and it'll run until the end. If you have single block tick, it'll run line by line. Basically, you have to hit cycle start every line you go down. It's just to basically troubleshoot your code, make sure nothing bad's going to happen, just slow things down a bit. When you get in the CNC world, this machine's not so bad. 60-inch rapids isn't too horrible, but you get into 1,000-inch, 600-inch, 800-inch rapids, things happen super fast. So that helps cycle through things. Feed hold is basically, that you're when you're in single block mode, or you open the door or whatever, it'll go into feed hold, which basically is just pausing to go to the next line. You just cycle start to get to the next line. Coolant, simple enough. Coolant on and off. The light lights up if it's on. M01 brake is basically a brake that's done around a tool change so that you can have a braking point, you know, between each tool. So if you need to do something, or you want to have a stop there just to check out the next tool or whatever. You can put M1 brakes other places, I assume. I've never tried it, but that's where they are. Stop just stops the G-code. Reset rewinds basically a G-code to the top. These are fun. I use this max velocity one all the time. When I'm running the code for the first time, or I've reset a job up and I'm not 100% well, I'm 100%, but just in case, the first run, I don't want something bad to happen. Or for instance, way I use it a lot is to make sure that the parting tool, I try to part as close to the collet as I can, giving enough room for a bar pull if I need to, but I try to bring it up as close as I can. And a lot of times if I'm loading code I haven't run in a while, I just want to make sure that I've bar pull, that I've set the distance out, because I should, but I don't keep notes in here about how far I pull it out, how far I set it. So there is a chance that if I set it out not as much as I did the last time, it could come in and hit. So anyway, so I set my max velocity. I drag this bar, and it's in real time. So if you drag it down here, it starts to slow down, and you drag it back, it'll start to speed up. So what I do is I'll hold my mouse down and click on the button and let it get closer to the part, and then I'll drag it down to 3% or down to nothing. If you bring it down to nothing, it'll just stop the machine. So that way I can watch the DROs over here. And so if you look over here, this DTG, I guess, stands for distance to go. This number will be counting down, and it'll show exactly how far the tool's going to move, how far it has left. So if you drag this down to like 1% and it's just barely moving, you can watch this and then look at the spindle and make sure that you're a distance away that isn't going to hit. So the feed is the actual cutting speeds and such. So a lot of times I'll drag that to 0. I'll drag this down to 2% or something when it gets close, and then it'll basically just stop. Once it finishes the rapid move in, it'll basically just stop before it starts feeding in, because this one will be set to 0. The feed will be set to 0. And that way I know that everything's fine, and I can easily drag this to 0, just like a tick over, to stop the machine from hitting the spindle if it's too close. Once it stops, then I can easily hit feed 100%, and then it'll kick off and start cutting again. I really don't mess with RPMs too much, but you can adjust them here. I can't remember, I think it's 10 or 20% you can go over on these two. Trying to think if there was something else I wanted to say on that. I'll probably come back to that. All right, so here's where your your work, your X and Z DRO is shown. If you click this button here, the 0 button, zeros the Z out. You use that quite often, but only to do my main tool. When you want to set any of your other tools, you'll set the offset in the offset tab. You'll set your Z offset there. Not much to say about the X diameter offset, other than I've shown before how you just take a skim pass, measure the part, and then you enter that part diameter here to make sure that your tool is on. Again, that's on my tool 8 only. Alright, so we'll move down here. Again, this is distance to go. That's really handy. Down here, basically just tells you the G-code information that you're in, whether you're in, G54, G55, whatever offset you may be, 90 or 91, whether you're doing, you know, feet per rev, or you know, just inches per minute. But here's the information below. You know, this tells you how fast things, you know, basically pretty self-explanatory. You know, this is inches per rev. This is your spindle surface feet per minute. If this is ticked, I believe you're using constant surface feet per minute. If it's not, it's using inches per minute or whatever. And your RPM and inches per minute you're cutting, and direct inches per minute. Okay, on this side, here's your step. You can change this basically to just adjust the amount of jog movement, anywhere between a tenth up to 100 thou. It's, you know, steps of 0.10 basically. The jog speed, I've never actually messed with that. I assume when you jog with the dial that it's not at 100%. It feels like it is. I feel like I've seen it go up to 60 inches a minute as I'm doing that, so I'm not entirely sure if that is. Never used it. Alright, so the spindle, here's where you can manually control your spindle, forward, stop, or reverse. This is the current tool that is, you know, on the turret or gangplank, at whichever case may be. Set G30, so when you do a tool change, you have to go to a tool clearance location. You set your tool clearance location by moving your tool or your cross slide, I guess. I'm not sure what you'd call it, but basically move that out of the way so where no tools are going to hit the part. You click on Set G30, and then it'll save that position. Hitting go to G30 will go to that position. Like I said before, it goes to that position before every tool change. Collet clamped used to say something else in the older version, I believe. Basically, it's lit up green if your collet, you know, is in clamped mode or unclamped. When you boot the machine up, you're going to have to reference the Z and the X. Both. Neither one of these lights will be up, and you won't be able to do anything. I can't remember what the message is, but it gives you a message if it's not referenced. I believe it drags you over to the status page with some error message. When you first turn the machine on, you have to hit reset here, and then you also have to reference the Z and the X. Exit obviously exits the program. You're supposed to exit the program and allow it to come to a screen where it says to shut off. You know, you can now turn off the power or whatever. It used to do that. Mine doesn't do that anymore. It just goes. The machine just shuts off now, instead of asking me to turn it off when I hit exit. So I'm not sure what happened there, but I think that happened during the update. Actually, it might have happened before. Not positive. The view options screen. I don't want to talk about a whole lot because I'll talk about what I know. Basically, if you have more than one tool path going here, or more than one operation, you can select what to show and what not to show. You can change the grid size. To be honest, I don't find it particularly useful. This you can zoom in and out here. I believe it's with the middle mouse key or something. There's a way to scroll in and out here, and yeah, to be honest, I don't use this tab. It's kind of useless to me. Maybe somebody else has a good use for it. You can check this to show only the current tool. I'm not sure what this is. Maybe zoom in or out. Anyway, I basically never use this screen. Alright, so I'm going to think that's going to be it for this section of it. I'll have another section up as soon as I can get it. I want to try to cover it as well as I can without actually recording video. I may have to do recording some video. I just don't like the quality of trying to record the screen like that. But alright guys, I'll see you on the next one.